They both stood in the same kind of darkness. One of them screamed. One of them smiled. And only one of them ever came back from it. The day Yoo Hobin stopped flinching, nobody noticed. Not his classmates. Not Paco, who had been using him as a live prop for his new tube stream for longer than Hobin could remember. Not even Hobin himself. It did not happen with music. It did not happen with a speech. It happened in a convenience store parking lot with ramen on his shirt and a camera he did not know was rolling, pointed directly at his face while he did the most pathetic, desperate, ugly thing he had ever done in his entire life. He threw a punch. It did not land cleanly. It was not fast. There was no slow-motion moment, no crowd parting, no sudden realization that he had been holding back some hidden power all along. There was just a boy who had run out of room to keep shrinking, and a world that was about to find out what happens when the wrong person has nothing left to lose. By the next morning, the footage had 10 million views. 10 million people watched Yoo Hobin at his worst. 10 million people watched the swollen face, the shaking hands, the complete absence of technique or dignity or anything resembling a heroic moment. And somewhere inside that humiliation, buried under the view count and the comments and the money sitting in an account he barely understood, something in Hobin did not break. It unlocked. This is where most analysts get Hobin completely wrong. They watch the fights. They count the wins. They track his power level like he is a system user in a dungeon, leveling up through combat. But Hobin was never leveling up. He was recalculating. Every fight, every bruise, every moment where he should have quit and did not. He was running a calculation that most people his age could not even comprehend. What is pain worth? What is dignity worth? What is one more hit worth if the camera is on and the upload goes live and the number goes up? And what that calculation reveals about him changes the entire story. Now step sideways. Different school. Different silence. Yan Seun walked through his hallways like a weapon that had decided, for the time being, to remain sheathed. Perfect scores. Perfect composure. The kind of quiet that does not come from peace. It comes from a person who has already mapped every exit in every room before they sit down. Se-Eun was not calm. Se-Eun was controlled. There's a distance between those two words that most people never think about, and the entire tragedy of weak hero lives inside that gap. He built walls before the storm arrived. That was his mistake and his genius at the same time, because Wolf was coming. And Wolf did not break rules. Wolf existed in the space where rules simply did not apply, where strength was the only currency and intellect was a target, not a shield. Se-Eun had spent years constructing a life where being smarter was enough. And then something arrived that did not care how smart he was. Something that wanted to destroy him specifically because of it. Nobody warned him. Nobody warned you either the first time you read it. Here's where the mirror cracks wide open between these two. Hobin was already broken when the story started. The readers could see it even when he could not. The exhaustion behind his eyes. The way he moved through his own life like a guest who knew he was not welcome. He was not a boy waiting to become strong. He was a boy who had already survived things that would have ended someone else, and never once received credit for it. His breaking was not an event. It was a condition. It was the water he swam in every single day before a single fight ever happened. Se-Eun's breaking was an event. Precise. Dateable. There was a before and an after, and everyone who read it felt the exact moment the line was crossed. That is what makes Weak Hero so devastating in a way that is different from Viral Hit. Viral Hit shows you a boy already in pieces, learning to build something from the wreckage. Weak Hero shows you something intact, something carefully, painstakingly constructed, and then shows you the moment it shatters. One is a survival story. The other is a collapse story. And the reason fans cannot agree on who broke first is because they are not measuring the same kind of breaking. Do not stop here, because this next part is the thing nobody talks about. Hobin never wanted to be admired. This is the detail that separates him from every other manhwa underdog in the genre. Most underdogs fight to be seen, to be respected, to make the people who doubted them swallow it. Hobin fought to pay his mother's hospital bills. He fought because Jixi needed the channel to work. He fought because the math said one more upload meant one more week where the worst thing did not happen. There is no glory in that arithmetic. There is no heroism in it either. There is only a boy doing the only thing available to him, and doing it so relentlessly, so stubbornly, so without any expectation of reward, that it becomes something close to beautiful. That is why fans fell in love with him before they even realized it was happening. Si-Eun earned love differently. He earned it the way you love someone you are afraid for. Watching him operate, watching that precise, restrained, devastatingly intelligent version of survival. Readers were holding their breath the entire time. Not cheering, holding their breath. Because brilliance without armor is not safety. It is a target, and Si-Eun wore his intelligence like a shield while something was approaching that shields could not stop. The love for Si-Eun is the love you have for something fragile that refuses to acknowledge its own fragility. The love for Hobin is the love you have for something already broken that refuses to stop moving. These are not the same love. They're not supposed to be. So stand here for a moment. Both of them at the bottom. Both of them in the kind of darkness that most stories would use as a backstory, something to reference quickly and move past on a way to the real plot. But viral hit and weak hero do not move past it. They live in it. They make you live in it with them. They refuse to let the darkness be a chapter title and insist on making it the entire texture of the story. That insistence is what makes both characters permanent. Hobin will be remembered because he took humiliation and turned it into something nobody expected. Not triumph, not revenge, not power, but a kind of stubborn, documented, ugly, undeniable proof that he existed and could not be erased. The camera was never his weapon. It was his witness. Si-Eun will be remembered because he showed what happens when the system you trusted to protect intelligence fails completely, and the only thing left is the person underneath the grades, underneath the strategy, underneath the armor, standing in the open for the first time with nothing left to hide behind. Two boys, the same darkness, completely different scars. And now the question that I want you to actually sit with before you answer. Not the easy answer, not the fandom answer, the real one. If you had to choose one of them to stand beside you in the worst moment of your life, not the strongest one, not the smartest one, the one who would still be standing when everything else had fallen apart, who do you choose, and why? Drop it in the comments. I will be there reading every single answer. If these are the kinds of stories you want to live inside, subscribe right now. The next character is already waiting, and that story starts somewhere even darker than this one did.